Welcome to Capitalize Your Finances, the podcast that's your ultimate guide to mastering personal finances and unlocking the secrets of entrepreneurship. Each week, we dive into the world of personal finance and business development and have fascinating conversations with industry experts, seasoned entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who share their insights, strategies, and stories to help you get ahead in life. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur looking to scale your business or someone just starting out on your financial path, this podcast is your go-to resource for inspiration and actionable insights.
Welcome back to Capitalize Your Finances. As always, I'm your host, Christopher Panayiotou, certified financial planning professional, the Cap and Capitalize. And on today's episode, I'm going to discuss the 7 retirement savings and spending trends that you need at least to be aware of. Now, before we get into today's episode, as always, the free advice for the week, which is the more you focus on what is right for you, the more successful you will become. The danger in financial success often lies in the phrase, everyone is doing it. And there is no better time to re-listen and replay that free piece of advice than right now. So now that we've got that free piece of advice out of the way, it is time to get into the 7 retirement savings and spending trends. And this is in the United States, for those of you that are listening outside the United States. And this is based on research and surveys and financial reports that I have consolidated and gathered. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is these trends reflect how Americans are saving, how they're investing, how they're spending during retirement today. So the first saving and spending trend that you need to be aware of in retirement is there is a heavy reliance on Social Security. So a large majority of retirees depend on Social Security's benefits for basic living expenses. And according to Bankrate, about 78% of retired Americans rely on Social Security income to cover their necessary costs, basically everything. According to Coin Law, Social Security typically replaces only about 40% of pre-retirement income, meaning most retirees must supplement it with personal savings, which we've actually known that all along. And the implication to this, Social Security remains the primary income pillar, but it is rarely enough by itself. And I want to quickly, pivot off of script here for a second, because it's worth knowing how we even got to this point. Back in the day, there was no such thing as a 401k or 403b or 457 or really IRA or any of that nature. That didn't come until the ERISA Act of 1974. And before that, like my grandparents, they grew up with a pension. And not only did they have a pension, they had their Social Security on top of that to help supplement their pension. And if you bought a home, my grandparents never even had a mortgage. So a lot of these people back in the day, grandparents or parents, if you had a mortgage, it was not detrimentally cost impairing. You pay that off in retirement. You've got this equity in your home. You got a pension. You've got your Social Security income. You've got free cash flow. And then if you move into the big house, AKA a nursing home, you sell your home, you got enough equity to live out the remainder of your days. And back in the day, healthcare costs were not what they were. So I say that because ever since the ERISA Act of 1974 came out, obviously the 401k has become prevalent and pensions are not as prevalent because they're very costly to employers, and most people just don't have the money to perpetually pay for these people long after they've separated from employment. And so you couple that with 401ks being the primary source of retirement. Most people decide not to contribute to their 401k plan for a variety of reasons. And it's not just because money could be tight in today's economy. It could just because most people just simply don't care enough to do so. And then you get to retirement and you go, oh man, the only thing I've got coming in is Social Security. So I get how we've gotten to this point. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but at least you know the background to it. Now, the second retirement savings and spending trend that you need to be aware of, many Americans have little or no retirement savings. Touched on this a brief moment ago, but there's some more facts and figures. A significant portion of households lack retirement accounts. And according to, I'm going to maybe butcher this first one, I'm going to try it, DeKesser Retirement Specialist. With the last name like Paniotu, I'm used to people butchering my last name. So like if I said it wrong, so be it. I apologize. So DeKesser Retirement Specialist put out that only 60% of U.S. households, U.S. adults have retirement savings at all, such as a 401k or IRA. So that means 40% of Americans have no type of retirement savings. Now, it may not be as brutal because, I've met people, if you run a business, you might have all of your net worth tied up in your business. Or some people just never save for retirement, but they save in other ways. The majority of people, though, fall into that 40% where they just don't have anything saved. Very, very dangerous. And another fact by DeKesser Retirement Specialists. I don't know why I'm struggling with this one today. Nearly half of households have no dedicated retirement savings at all. So we're talking just like nothing, period, regardless if it's a retirement plan or not. And so what's the implication of that? A large retirement preparedness gap continues across this country, and it's not trending in the right direction. Now, the third retirement saving and spending trend that you need to be aware of, rising living costs are affecting retirement plans. So inflation, rising expenses, they are making retirement much more challenging today. According to CoinLoss, 73% of Americans worry prices are rising faster than their income, making it harder to save. And then according to Investopedia.com, one of my favorite websites, and no, I'm not sponsored by them, healthcare, housing, and food costs are major barriers to retirement savings. And the implications are pretty obvious. Many workers must either save more or delay retirement. This does bring up a point that you need to be aware of. A lot of people plan and invest, and we've talked about this for years on this podcast, on their risk tolerance. What you need to understand is not one's risk tolerance. You need to better understand what you need to get to in terms of that number in retirement, and then work your way backwards and invest and plan based on prudent principles, not on emotional unintelligence with money. And we have a couple tools out there for you if you're not already using them, whether it is my first book, Capitalize Your Finances, available on Amazon, whether it is our net worth tool and our cash flow app on capitalizepodcast.com. There are a multitude of tools that we have created so you can figure this out all on your own. Now, number 4, before we get into the commercial break, retirees are carrying more debt than in the past. Debt is increasingly common amongst older Americans. So according to Investopedia, about 57% of retirees carry some form of debt. In also another study, according to Investopedia, the median debt balance has nearly tripled since 1989, with credit card debt being the most common. And the obvious implication of that, debt management is becoming a key retirement planning issue where otherwise was not back in the day. Now, before we get into the commercial break, I want to just take a quick moment. And if you are in retirement or about to be in retirement and you have debt, let's say you have a mortgage, let's say you have credit card debt, let's say for whatever reason you still have student loan debt or a variety of debts. In and of itself, that is not a bad thing. I could actually argue if you're going into retirement and you still have a mortgage, it could be a good thing because frankly, you don't get a lot of deductions in retirement. And if you have a large enough mortgage, I'm not encouraging you just to go into debt for a deduction. That is absolutely foolish. But the fact is, if you do have a mortgage in retirement, you do get a little bit more deductibility as opposed to those that don't. And now that the state and local tax deduction has gone from $10,000 to $40,000 for the majority of Americans, unless you make too much, but that's a pretty high threshold for a lot of people, then you're going to be able to deduct a lot more in retirement, which also means that your taxes won't be as brutal, which also means you don't have to take as much from your retirement, which also means you could invest more in the long run because you're not taking out as much from your portfolio. So I just need to say that before we go to the commercial break. And now we are going to go to that commercial break. So don't go anywhere. Stick around.
Are you ready to transform the way you approach sales? This episode is sponsored by the second book in the Capitalize series, Capitalize Your Sales, the all-in-one sales framework that saves you from ever struggling again and teaches you how to sell with sincerity, which dives deep into the art and science of driving sustainable growth. Packed with strategies that go beyond surface-level techniques, this book will help you understand what it takes to truly connect with clients, build long-term relationships, and close deals. Whether you're looking to fine-tune your sales craft or break through to the next level, Capitalize Your Sales offers a roadmap to success designed for today's fast-paced business world. Head on over to your favorite bookstore, order today, and start capitalizing your sales immediately. And now, back to the episode.
Welcome back from the commercial break. We're going to get into number 5 of the 7 retirement savings and spending trends that you need to be aware of, regardless of where you're at, but especially if you are about to retire and or if you have retired. So number 5, 401k plans and employer-sponsored savings are the dominant savings choice. Employer plans like 401k plan accounts, remain the main retirement plan saving vehicle. According to Vanguard, participation has expanded with features such as automatic enrollment, very, very valuable. And it's literally a set it and forget it thing. And also according to Vanguard, around 67% of participants now use professionally managed allocations like target date funds. And I'm going to get into that in a second and for those of you that'll listen to the show for many years, you know how I feel about target date funds. Spoiler, it's not great. For those of you that are new to the show, first off, welcome. And then second off, I'm going to explain to you why I dislike them to a very large extent. But before I talk about that, what is the implication to all of this? Workplace retirement plans continue to drive retirement investing and drive better retirement outcomes. And that makes sense because for a lot of people out there, it is much more of a set it and forget it option than doing a custom individual retirement account or just a taxable investment account, which is not a retirement account. Now, let's talk about automatic enrollment. So if you work for a company, doesn't matter where you work, and you decide not to show up to the enrollment meeting, you just ignore it for whatever reason. You don't care about your retirement or your life. And then what you see is the next pay period, you are contributing magically to your company retirement plan. That is automatic enrollment. And I can tell you just from personal experience from the retirement plans that we oversee, that started to gain popularity, like a lot of popularity, 6 to 8 years ago. What's been really popular over the last couple years is not only automatic enrollment, but then automatic escalation. So if you're putting in 5% to your 401k plan every year, starting in year 1, then it auto bumps up to 6% the next year, 7%, so on and so forth, until theoretically you get to that maxed out contribution, which is $24,500 if you are under 50 this year. And if you're over 50, it's $32,500. And then 60 to 63, it's like 35, a little over 35. Most people don't get there, but the point is like there will be that max that people theoretically get to. Automatic enrollment and automatic escalation in contribution amounts, those are, I cannot stress enough, if you run a business, how valuable that is to implement into your 401k plan. It's completely free. You talk to your third-party administrator or your financial planner, and you tell them, hey, we want this in. You check a box and you're done. Again, no cost. Now, I'm not against professionally managed accounts. In fact, I'd be probably hypocritical if I said I would, because I actually professionally manage people's money for a living. But target date funds, I got issues with. Is it better than nothing? Yes, it is better than nothing. However, it is one of those things where if it's too easy, then that probably means there are better options out there. So how target date funds work is very, very simple. Early in your career, it starts off being majority stock investments, and then there's a small amount in bonds, which are theoretically more conservative. As you get closer to retirement, the stock amount becomes less and less and less. The bond account becomes more and more and more. It gets traditionally, quote unquote, conservative. Then when you retire, you have this magical sum of money that is predominantly bonds. And then there's a small amount left in stock. And then at that point you retire and, do it yourself, roll your money over to an advisor, call it a day. The issue with that is how target date funds return. And I'm going to go back to a study that I've mentioned on the show in the past by Rob Arnault through Abbott. In 2013, he put out a study that showed this huge target date fund of like 100 years from or it might have been over 100 years now that I'm blanking, but it was just before 1900 through 2013. So he took a target date fund over that period of time, and then he flipped the idea on its head. And if you flipped the idea of a target date fund on its head and went against conventional wisdom, a participant would have had on average 22% more in their portfolio when they retire, which then means they would have a 22% larger income stream as opposed to those that went with conventional advice with target date funds. Now, I'm not going to dive too much more into the depths of that because I've talked about it in the past. And who knows, if you want me to do an episode on target date funds, let me know and I'll make it happen. Just go over to capitalizepodcast.com and go to the contact us and hit me up, hit my team up. We can do it, but only on popular demand. But all you need to know is there are better options out there than target date funds. And I know compliance might get a little squirrely with that, but sorry guys, it's the honest truth. The sixth retirement savings and spending trend that you need to be aware of, more focus on turning savings into retirement income is of primary concern. So financial planning is shifting from accumulating assets to generating reliable income streams. And that is especially true if you are about to retire or have retired, because when you have retired, you are not getting any income from your employer because you don't have one. And so whatever you've saved, you need to convert that into an income stream so you can live. Pretty cut and dry. Now, according to Forbes, shout out to Forbes, new retirement products emphasize steady payouts and longevity protection, such as annuities or structured withdrawals. And what is the implication of this? Retirees are prioritizing predictable monthly income similar to a paycheck. I want to caution you with this. And I also want to be very, very, very clear. I am not against any particular strategy out there. I'm not against the stock market. I'm not against annuities. I'm not against bonds. I'm not against CDs, money markets, real estate, private equity, private credit, you name it. I am not against it because I'm a firm believer in these strategies, not like the really opaque, obscure strategies that no one can really understand, but the ones that have been around for a very, very, very long time, like decades. There is a reason why they're still around. They do provide some sort of value. If you've done the research, again, this is in my first book, read it if you haven't. But I'm cautioning you because when people are about to retire or they have retired, they get nervous about the market. Understandable. I get it. You don't want to pull money out when the market is down. However, then what people do, and by people in this context, I mean annuity salesmen and insurance salesmen, is they latch on to your emotional unintelligence with money. They try to fear monger you into buying their product because some of what they say is true. There are lifetime income annuities out there where you cannot lose money. And if the market dips, your income stays where it's at. And then if the market rebounds, you just pick up back from where you left off. That is true. But that's not the whole truth. And so all I'm saying is, without getting too into the weeds of this, don't get sucked into something that is seemingly the answer to all of your problems in retirement. Oh my gosh, if I buy this thing, it's going to give me all of my income for retirement and I am good to go. I don't need to do anything else. That's not how money works. That's not how planning works. Now, the last piece of retirement savings and spending trend, lucky number 7. Americans expect to need more money to retire. Shocker. Expectations about retirement costs are rising by the day. And according to, it was a study by Charles Schwab, Press Room was the company that put it out. Workers believe they will need around $1.6 million saved for a comfortable retirement. We're going to get back to that in a second. However, many Americans' actual savings fall far below that target. And what is the implication of all of this? The gap between retirement expectations and actual savings and retirement readiness remains vastly wide. Now, before I wrap this episode up with a summary, I don't know why people get these numbers in their head of, oh, I need 1.6 million according to the study, or I need 2 million, or I need 1 million, whatever the case may be. There is some truth to the point where it's like, okay, I do need to have X amount to maintain the lifestyle that I have. But by doing that, you actually need to work backwards. And what I mean by that is when you retire, like let's assume you're about to retire or have retired. If you have your net worth, and it kind of is what it is, you work backwards on what you need from expenses today, and you allocate your dollars accordingly. And then you go from money today, money, I call it intermediate money, and then money for tomorrow. And anything that is left over in that quote unquote tomorrow bucket would be able to be invested or quote unquote risked in the stock market. Because there's never been a 15-year period where the market has done less than 7.94% since 1950. Again, all in my first book. I got to keep pushing this because I have people ask me these questions all of the time, like fans, and I keep telling them, reread the book. It's all in there. It is all in there. Now, if you are in your 20s or 30s and you're figuring out how am I going to get to retirement? What is that number? Well, you could use our net worth calculator and cash flow app. That's a good start. But even doing just basic back of the napkin math, this is how I would go about it. 1, what are your expenses today? 2, take that expense and then inflate it by historical inflation. And just to be conservative, put it at a 3% inflation rate between now and then when you retire. Just call it 59.5 or 60, because that's when you can take money from your retirement plan without penalty. And that's what you need to basically get to in terms of like your monthly expenses at that point. Then you take that monthly expense amount, multiply it by 12, then you divide that number by 4%. Is it going to be the most accurate number? No, but it gives you an idea. And that's like the bare bones what you're going to need in order to retire, not only comfortably, just like essentially at that point. So once you have that number, then you work back to present day and go, okay, how much am I saving every month? Am I investing that accordingly? Let's assume that you are. And let's assume that you hit if you're in your 20s or 30s, I could say you could argue a projection of an 8% growth rate of return in the long run. Okay. Again, not guaranteed, but like you're just throwing numbers out there. And assuming you put that dollar amount in, and if you want to get really creative, you could open up a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet or a cash flow app and increase the interest rate on your growth of your salary every year. But I mean, you don't even need to do that. Basics, you just look at your contributions to your retirement today at that 8% over the 30 to 40 years, depending on where you're at. And then you just compare it to, all right, I need this much. I'm going to save this much at this rate, or maybe I'm saving this much below. I need to make that up. And that's a really easy way for you to figure out what that number actually is. Don't just like pull a number out of the sky, because generally speaking, that number is going to be wrong. And you also got to factor this in too. I know a lot of people are like, well, I'm not going to get any Social Security. Okay, let's pump the brakes here. Let's cross that road when we get there. If you're in retirement or you're about to retire and you go, oh my gosh, I did everything you said. I'm spending $6,000 a month. And that means that I need to have saved, I'm making this up, $2 million. I don't have that saved. It's like, well, did you factor in Social Security? No. Oh, well, what are you getting from Social Security? Well, we haven't turned it on yet. Well, what will you be getting from Social Security? We're going to be getting $4,000 a month. Oh, so you only need $2,000 a month from your portfolio. Well, that makes it a lot easier. Then you work backwards and you realize, oh, I actually have that amount. And then if, depending on your planning preference and all that, you could maybe have enough to buy and position within your portfolio enough guaranteed income or alternative income to just live off of interest and then invest the rest in the market and really not worry at that point what's going on within the market at that after that's all said and done. I'm trying not to get like full-blown planning, give full-blown planning advice on this show because compliance doesn't like that. But these are the things I talk about when I give presentations and I speak at conferences and in bureaus and all of that fun stuff. So, just getting your mind to think on not the number. It's, yeah, you're going to get to that number, but working backwards based on what the expenses are that you need today. So what is the summary from this lovely episode? The biggest retirement trends in the United States include, number one, heavy dependence on Social Security. Number two, large retirement savings gaps. Number three, rising living costs affecting savings. Number four, more retirees are carrying debt. Number five, growing reliance on 401k plans. Number six, focus on generating income in retirement. And last, lucky number seven, higher expected savings are needed for retirement. So to conclude this episode, are these trends good or are they bad? The answer, really neither. What I took away from all of this research is you just need to be simply aware of what these facts are. You don't need to compare yourself. That's not going to help at all. You need to be aware, you need to be prudent, and you need to be very proactive on your financial circumstance. And if you do those three things, you're not going to need to worry about any of these savings and spending trends because you're going to have a successful retirement. And that's my whole purpose in doing this show anyway, is for you to be successful with your money, regardless if you are retired, about to retire, or have years to go. So that does it for today's episode. As always, I'm your host, Chris Frey Poniotu, certified financial planning professional, the Cap and Capitalize. And until next time, keep capitalizing. Take care. As always, thank you for joining me today. If you have questions about today's episode or any personal finance questions, please reach out to me at Cap and Capitalize on Instagram, Chris@capitalizeyourfinances.com, or via our website, capitalizepodcast.com. If you want more Capitalize Your Finances content, head on over to capitalizepodcast.com and check out our blog, free resources, book, and online course. As always, I'm your host, Chris Frey Poniotu, certified financial planning professional, the Cap and Capitalize. And until next time, keep capitalizing.
The information provided should not be considered specific tax, legal, or investment advice and is not specific to any individual's personal circumstances. Each taxpayer should seek independent advice from a tax professional based on his or her individual circumstances. These materials are provided for general information and educational purposes based upon publicly available information from sources believed to be reliable. The information in these materials may change at any time and without notice, and its accuracy cannot be guaranteed. There is no guarantee that any investment strategy will meet its stated objective. All investments involve risk, including potential loss of principal. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. Examples cited are hypothetical, are for illustrative purposes only, are not guaranteed and subject to potential federal and state law amendments. There is no guarantee that you will achieve the results discussed or illustrated. The information provided is based on current laws, which are subject to change at any time. Capitalize Your Finances is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Social Security rules can be complex. For more information about Social Security benefits, visit the SSA website at ssa.gov or call 800-772-1213 to speak with an SSA representative. 401k benefits may be subject to change at your employer, the governing pension, or benefit organization's discretion. IRA withdrawals will be taxed at ordinary income rates. Withdrawals prior to age 59 and a half may also be subject to a 10% penalty tax. Before investing, carefully consider a target date or money market fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus which contains this and other information, call your financial advisor. Read the prospectus carefully before investing. Investing in mutual funds involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Fund value will fluctuate with market conditions and it may not achieve its investment objective. Before investing, carefully consider variable annuities investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus which contains this and other information, call your financial advisor. Read the prospectus carefully before investing. Variable annuities with guarantees are available through optional riders at additional cost. Fixed and variable annuities are suitable for long-term investing, such as retirement investing. Gains from tax-deferred investments are taxable as ordinary income upon withdrawal. Guarantees are based on the claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals made prior to age 59 and a half are subject to a 10% IRS penalty tax and surrender charges may apply. Variable annuities are subject to market risk and may lose value. CDs are FDIC insured up to $250,000 per depositor per insured bank for each account ownership category. Bonds are subject to market and interest rate risk if sold prior to maturity. Bond values will decline as interest rates rise. Bonds are subject to availability, change in price, call features, and credit risk. Investments in real estate may be subject to a higher degree of market risk because of concentration in a specific industry, sector, or geographical sector. Other risks can include, but are not limited to, declines in the value of real estate, potential illiquidity, risk related to general and economic conditions, stage of development, and defaults by borrower. P. Christopher Panayotou is a registered representative with and securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Capitalize Your Finances LLC is a separate entity from LPL Financial. Capitalize Your Finances is not registered as a broker-dealer or investment advisor. CRPS conferred by College for Financial Planning. Other people and/or companies mentioned in this podcast are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Capitalize Your Finances. LPL Financial, California Insurance License Number 05-18721. LPLIA, California Insurance License Number 0B91442.